Hi, I'm Dr. Greg Chappelle. Welcome back. I was just getting done packing for spring break or vacation, going to go down south, being in the Florida sun, and the concept of sunscreen came up. I was discussing it with my wife, so I thought it was timely for me to bring this up insofar as whether people are going on spring break or whether they're preparing for summer, to understand the importance of sunscreen, effect on your body, and some other options that you can have to protect yourself from the sun without having toxic reactions. So let's take a look historically. If we look back during the 90s and the early part of the 2000s here, for the last 20 years, the increased use of sunscreen, the cancer rates have gone right up with it. They have not decreased the cancer rates. In fact, it's been shown that sunscreen does not reduce your major form of one of the highest dangerous cancers, and that's melanoma. In fact, it actually may increase it, because as we put on our sunscreen, it blocks the burning rays, but it doesn't block the rays that actually cause the melanoma. So we have a tendency to stay out in the sun longer, which increases our exposure to the more damaging effects. If you look at some report by the Food and Drug Administration's 2007 draft on sunscreen safety regulations, it says that the FDA is not aware of data demonstrating that sunscreen use alone helps prevent skin cancer. And then the International Agency for Research on Cancer agrees that sunscreen should not be the first choice for skin cancer prevention and should not be used as a sole agent for protecting against the sun. So what are you going to do? I think it's important to understand that a little bit more about sunscreen so you can make more educated decisions. Now, with sunscreens, you have two choices. You have the chemical-based ones, which basically have an inferior stability, so they break down more in the hot sun and can be absorbed into the body, and some of these chemicals the body doesn't deal with very well. They penetrate the skin, and they may disrupt hormonal systems. Then you've got the mineral-based sunscreens. Those are the ones that have like titanium dioxide and zinc oxide in them. And although they don't absorb as much into the skin, they also can cause reproductive and organ system problems and cellular changes. And the one thing with the mineral-based ones is that they're starting to come up with this nanotechnology where they make the particles smaller and smaller, and the problem with that is that now they can be absorbed more. And there have been some studies out there with mice that show that the nanoparticle compositions can actually absorb more into the body and can have some effects on brain damage. So obviously not good for your health and wellness over time. There are two main problems with sunscreens, and that's first of all the toxicity levels or potential, and the other one is the decreased production of vitamin D. So let's talk about toxicity first. The chemicals that block the sun's rays that they use are a problem, because when you get out in the sun, they think what's happening is that you're actually, the skin warms up, the pores open up, and now they allow you to absorb more and more of those chemicals into the body. And a lot of these chemicals are not very healthy for you when absorbed over a long period of time. Instead of going over a whole long list of the bad chemicals, I'd highly recommend that you go to this website, www.cosmeticsdatabase.com. It's a great website put out there by Environmental Working Group. Not only has suntan products, but also skin products, makeup, and so forth. You can check the toxicity levels of what you're using. You can do a search on your specific product. Or if you're not happy with what you've got, or you're looking to use something different, you can actually look at the ones that are rated less toxic and make your choices accordingly. So it's a really nice website. I highly recommend you go on there to look at the toxicity and the effectiveness of the different products that you're using right now. The second issue is that of decreased production of vitamin D. Now, vitamin D is a very, very, very vital element in the human body. It helps with strengthening bones and the immune system, and the immune system obviously is what protects you against bacteria, viruses, and cancer. Decreases the risk of cancer, and also it has effects on over 1,000 different genes that regulate virtually all cellular function in the body. So over the last 20 years, we've had this growing epidemic of decreased vitamin D absorption, and it's particularly a problem with kids, particularly kids that are obese, and kids because we're inside, out of the sun, watching TV, playing video games, on the computers and so forth, what they call screen time now, and it's just way too high. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, we were out playing all the time. Now kids are inside more because of the high technology and so forth, and it's become a major issue because these kids need vitamin D in the body. Everybody does, but particularly kids during their formative and developmental years. So we need to get the kids outside, but we need to protect them against the sun. So if there's a real downside to sunscreens, what are our options? One of the main things to understand is that omega-3 fatty acids in the body are vital in order to help your cells protect themselves against the sun's rays and to help to deal with the damage. Now, in our society, our diets have way too many omega-6s and not enough omega-3s. Where do you get omega-3s? From deep water fish, real dark green leafy vegetables, from either wild game or production game that's been grass-fed, free-range type thing, where they're actually eating grasses as opposed to grain-fed, which is where most of our produced meat comes from nowadays. So you want to try to eat more of those products in order to build up the omega-3s, because omega-6s come from things like corn. And I mean, corn products, how many things do we eat nowadays that have corn in them, particularly like the sugars from high fructose corn syrup that's made from corn. Omega-6s also come from soy and your vegetable oils, safflower oil, sunflower oil, and so forth. So these are very, very common things that the typical American diet consists of. So we have way too many omega-6s. They should be in like a 2-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-1 ratio, in that range, and most Americans are sometimes upwards of 20-to-1 or 50-to-1 omega-6s to omega-3s. So we're way out of line with where we should for proper cellular development to then have proper function, and one of those things is to help us deal with the elements of the sun. So the other thing too is just use common sense when you're out in the sun. One of the best things that you can do is increase your melanin levels in the body, and that's when you tan. The darkness is the melanin coming up to the surface in the outer layers of the cellular system. And how do you do that? You do that by exposing yourself to sun, but you don't want to burn. So early on, what you want to do is stop or start slow, and maybe just 10 minutes in the sun, and allow it to start to pull that melanin up, and then maybe go to 15 or 20, and then just keep gradually increasing your exposure out there. As you increase the melanin, it's able to block more and more of the rays, and you can use that natural protection. The other thing too is just try to decrease your exposure to the sun. And that is doing things like trying to be out in the shade, find shades from umbrellas or under trees or overhangs in houses or different structures and so forth. You can wear clothing, long pants and shirts and so forth that cover up your body. A long sleeve shirt that I wear this out when I'm out in the boat all day long. And it's a very lightweight. It actually has SPF protection built into the fabric, so it blocks the sun's rays. It's very cool. I can wear this in 80-degree weather, and I hardly get hot at all. So it's a really nice protective element and very, very easy to use. And the other thing too is you can use a broad-brimmed hat. So put on the hat, put on the clothes. Don't totally get yourself out of the sun, because you need that vitamin D activated. And if you want some more information, go to www.mercola.com. He has a ton of information on there about what's going on with the sun, vitamin D, sunscreens, and so forth. So between those two websites, the www.cosmeticsdatabase.com and Mercola.com, two great websites to gain information, get some options, and figure out how to make your choices so that you can be out in the sun and do it in a safe, healthy manner. So I'm Dr. Greg Chappell. Thanks for joining me. Please share this information with family and friends. And remember, you got one life to live. Let's live it well.